Board Game BBQ held an event on the 23rd of March. Was it any good? Let's have a chat about it. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to this event is they introduced to me an app that I've never seen before called Aftergame. It was actually a really cool idea. The idea is that you can host or join games online well before the event comes on. So you can have your whole day scheduled ahead of time, which is really cool. I mean, the plus side, you get to schedule games that maybe you've never played before and really want to try before you buy type of thing. Or maybe you're a bit, you find it difficult to approach people and ask to play a game. So this actually takes away that barrier. You just go to your scheduled game and jump right in. There was one thing I was sort of concerned about when it came to this. You don't know how long games are going to go and whether or not your next game might get interrupted. So considering that, the first time I'd been to one of those things, I wanted to sort of give myself a bit of freedom. I only booked a game at the beginning and the end of the day. So I knew I had a lot of wriggle room in the middle of the day to sort of figure out what I wanted to do, have a look around. First time, figured I'd want to have that freedom to go do that. My props to the Board Game BBQ team. If you don't know them, they're an Australian podcast about board games. And it was cool to see their faces for the first time. I'd only heard their voices before that. So very, very cool. A lot of them were around teaching all the hottest new games. The Stonemaier one with the bees, that was out there. Earth, so on and so forth. So a lot of really fun games being shown off. Let me give you a few impressions of some of the games that I played. A lot of them new to me for the first time. The first one being Kemet, Blood and Sand. It was a 3-player game, and this game is like, I don't know if I'd call it a area control. It's more of a King of the Hill style game I sort of found as we played along. So there are a few different things that sort of stood out to me. The idea is that you're trying to take control of these regions for points. It's a race to achieve 9 victory points, I believe, in a 3-player game. And the way you do that is you accumulate these prayer points, which could be used to teleport your forces around to these obelisks, recruiting more guys to your army, building up these pyramids, which is like a tech tree which unlocks more abilities that you can purchase. These abilities that you purchase are taken and put in front of you, which means no one else can unlock those abilities. So you build your own unique army, which was very interesting. I liked the idea that we were all different in our own way. I also really liked the symbology. A lot of it really sort of was easy to read. The game was explained to me that it was a very much proactive attacking style game. And, there was nowhere to hide. You could be attacked from any direction, which sounded very interesting. Like there was going to be no quiet turns. You're always going to be doing something, which is pretty cool. Hearing that, I sort of played in a way that maybe went against that philosophy. I thought of, how can I make this a defensive sort of game? I saw some of the upgrade tiles in black. There are different colors that you can sort of lean into, which have their own sort of abilities. We were playing with the red, white, and black. Red appeared to be the color of attacking, aggression, that kind of stuff. White seemed to be focused on prayer points, which is like a resource that you're spending, and sort of giving discounts, allowing you to build up faster, that kind of stuff. And black seemed to have a lot of nasty stuff that would be, they all have attacking combat stuff, but this one felt like it was somewhat defensive. Like, for instance, some of the tiles that I bought came with this black teardrop, or black blood drop, I should say. And basically what that means is that is an unavoidable casualty. So if someone goes into a battle with you and you have a black blood drop in your combat score or resources or whatever you want to call it, they are going to lose a guy no matter what. If they have a red blood drop, then they could potentially lose a guy, but that can be blocked with a shield icon. So I sort of focused my strategy around building up lots of those blood drops to try and make a lot of guys die if they came after me. So it was a sort of defensive strategy in a sense, because I was strongly encouraging people not to come fight me. And if they did, they might win, they might push me out of a zone, but at the same time, they're going to really pay for it and they're going to not like what happened. And that sort of did happen. We got to the point, it was a very tight game most of the time. It was very close in points. In the last round, one of the players had vacated their region to go fight someone else. I jumped in there and that gave me just the amount of points I needed to win the game. However, I had to hold those positions until the turn came back round to me again. At the start of my turn, if I was still holding those locations, it would be my victory. The other players knew this. The player after me came straight after me, attacked my zone, but because I had so many of those casualty symbols, all their minis died, right? And couldn't push me out of the area, even though they had the higher combat strength. Now, the player after me saw that I lost the fight, but didn't really get vacated because no one was left to push me out because they were all dead. It's a weird thing. I hope we played that right? I was still in that zone, so they sort of forgot about that and started doing their own thing, looking at more upgrade tiles and upgrading their powers. When it came back around to me, I was sort of keeping quiet about it all, and I just said, hey guys, I think I just won. And I sort of wondered after the game, should I have maybe said something? I don't know. What would you guys do? Tell me, would you keep quiet in that situation and just let them make that mistake? Or would you remind them, hey, I'm about to win. Are you going to try and stop me? I don't know. It was a bit of a, I'm interested to hear what you guys would have done in that situation. All right. Next game we're looking at is Clank. I met a couple who hadn't played it before, and I pulled it out. We played just base game, normal Clank. Clank, if you've not played before, is a deck building game where your cards give you the ability to move deeper into a dungeon. You can use your cards to move, upgrade your cards, get more, and possibly get combat and gold and all that kind of stuff. The object is that you're trying to get into this dungeon, collect an artifact, which is worth points, and get back out before you die. How do you die? Some of the cards that you're playing create Clank, which are these cubes that you're putting into a black bag, right? Every time that the dragon attacks, if your colored cubes come out of that bag, that's going to be the dragon taking a swipe at you and you losing some health, right? The funny thing about Clank, every time I play this game with new people, there's like a curse on me. It doesn't matter how little cubes I put in or whatever. All my cubes always come out. Whenever I'm versing someone who's new to the game, this always happens to me. But it's actually kind of nice because it gives, the new person a chance to win. But it's just really weird that it happens every time I'm versing new people. It's just my cubes coming out. I just remember all my yellow cubes coming out, and I looked across the table and they're like, man, you're unlucky. I'm like, yep. But very close game still. One of the other guys who were new won the game. So, very nice. Make them feel good. I think I came second in that game. So very close game still. So that was Clank. Following that, we played Earth. This was the first time I played Earth, and the reason I got to get in on that game was because someone else had already organized a spot there, but couldn't come because I was stuck in another game. So that's the after game effect, Sometimes you're not going to be able to finish games on time and they're going to overlap. So it's not a perfect system, but it is still pretty cool. So Earth, the tableau building game, I found that the way the rules were explained to me, it sort of felt like I was a bit lost in what was going on, and the vibe that I was getting was a few of the people at the table were also sort of feeling that. But when the game started rolling on, it started making sense. The idea is you've got 4 potential actions you can take. If you take an action, then everyone else has a weaker version of that action. And you were trying to build out a tableau of cards so that you have cascading effects. You want to be able to trigger multiple different things anytime an action sort of happens. Which is easier said than done, because I realize there's some counterplay around that. If you see someone's got leaning into a particular action, you can just decide not to take that action and work around it that way. So yeah, it was an interesting game. It reminded me a lot of Wingspan, but a lot more going on. I felt like you do one thing and then it'd trigger 5 different other things on different cards, and I feel like you could easily get lost in all the things that was going on, and it wasn't particularly exciting, because a lot of the time it would just be get an extra cube or draw an extra card, or you could be putting face down cards on your board, which is compost, which is points at the end of the game. So I did reasonably well in my first game. I came second in that one. The person teaching was the one who won the game, and he seemed to know a bit of what was going on, what cards work best together. And after I had built up my tableau, I realized, I want to put this one over here and this one over there, and there's a lot of positional type of stuff. You want certain cards to sit next to other ones and stuff like that. I didn't find it particularly exciting. I know it's really got a lot of praise and hype around this game. I thought it was okay. I'm not clamoring to try it again. I thought it was all right. Yeah, just a bit messy, I found. Lots of things going on at once, and it doesn't really feel like you're really interacting with anyone, because we were playing a 5-player game and you couldn't really look over at what other people were doing. It's just, you just played your own games. It was really solitaire, and I wasn't super impressed by that one. But if someone asks me to play again, I'll give it another crack, but I'm not excited about that one. Okay, so the last game I want to talk to you about is Dwellings of Eldervale. So Dwellings of Eldervale, very high hype, very high interest in this game, and this was the first time I played it before. I was very keen to give it a go. But it was a very weird game, I feel like. It wasn't like any game I played before. It was very different. And there was theme there, but I didn't really get it. I didn't understand what I was trying to do. So the premise of the game is that it's a worker placement, area control, kind of combat-y, set collection type of game. And the way you score points is by transforming one of your meeples into a dwelling. So you take these little roofs, you put them on top, and then you have a dwelling in Eldervale. Hence the name, right? That's what you're trying to do. And as you're doing that, you're going up these element tracks, which you want to do because they're like a multiplier. So the more of those symbols you have, the more points you're going to get. So that sounds simple enough, but I didn't really get why I was doing it. Like, there was these doors, these cards that I could get, which also had these symbols, so that was good. So I was getting some of those, but I was mainly getting dwellings. I tried to get dwellings in the regions that had multiple symbols, so I go up faster, but I also get more points for that. The combat in this game is very weird. The idea being that you have workers and you have dragons and you have wizards and you have warriors. All of these things contribute dice into battles, and you initiate a battle by putting one of your figures into a zone where someone else or a monster is residing in, and then you can decide if you've got adjacent guys, they can jump into that fight as well. And each one of these meeples can bring dice. A worker brings 1, warrior I think brings 2 dice, wizard is 1, the dragon brings 3, and you roll these dice, and whoever has the highest single dice will win the combat. And if there's ties, you check the next one and then the next one till you figure out who's got the highest dice, right? Now, my issue with this kind of system is, and I mean this is probably part of the excitement as well, maybe people like this aspect of it, but a single worker, one lowly, weak little worker can defeat a dragon, a monster, like an entire army. If they roll a 6 and the other team rolls like 5s or lower, then that one worker just annihilates them all. And that I thought was really odd. It's also extremely punishing if that happened to you, because I noticed one player was heavy into the combat, but it just kept backfiring and they just had all their stuff chucked into the underworld. It does give you a slight benefit. You get these daggers every time one of your meeples goes into the underworld, which is a resource which I only ever saw getting used to spend to get more dice in combat. I found that when your workers are all out, you have to do a recall action to bring them all back. And the recall action is actually more powerful than just sending a single worker out to work, because you're building this tableau of cards that you can modify and create your own worker placement spots. But you can only do that if you recall your workers from the board. But if your workers are in the underworld, then they don't go there. So if you go into combats and you die, then you have a really weak recall action. And I thought that was really debilitating. My faction, I was playing as the yellow faction, and my ability was that when I had workers in the underworld, every turn I could bring one of them back out and put it in my ready area. So it didn't affect me that much. I could just keep deploying workers till I was done and then just recall them all and have that good action. So it would only delay me like a turn or two if I was having those workers die. But one of the players across from me, they send in all their dudes to have a big fight. They got unlucky. It was that situation where they had the dragon, the wizard, all that kind of stuff, and one worker just, rolled a 6, and they're all gone, and they just like, here's some daggers for your trouble. And it's like, oh boy, that's just really nasty. I didn't really like that part of the game. And with that theme disconnect as well, that sort of took me out of it as well. I was alone in thinking that, because everyone else at the table was having a really good time and really enjoying it. So I don't know if it was just me being tired. It was a very long day and it was very late, so maybe I was just tired and cranky and sort of over it. But I definitely felt that game didn't really meet the hype for me. So all in all, still a really good day. I got to meet a lot of cool people. I got to try out a lot of games, a lot of which I didn't have really strong feelings for. So at least I tried them out before I bought them. But it was still a really fun day. I would definitely do it again. I think I would actually use the after game app a lot more, schedule a few more plays, maybe give myself a little bit of time in between, bring a bunch of party games if I've really got a gap and want to fill that up. But yeah. Tell me, did you go to Board Game BBQ's Brisbane game day? Tell me what you thought. I'm really interested to know. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Check out some of these videos. I hope you do. It helps me out a lot. Thanks, guys.